What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a banger of a video. Hope you guys enjoy this one. Drop a like if you do. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and also follow me on Twitter to get the link and exact release date for the grinder. I'm going to keep you guys updated on there. The Only Gas grinder is beautiful, and follow me on Twitter for all the info you need on that. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss out. But either way, without further ado, let's take a brief moment for our sponsor before we dive into this video. This video is brought to you guys by MyBookie. The madness has officially begun, and it's time for you to shoot your shot and score big on the nonstop action with MyBookie. Just head over to MyBookie today and sign up using code GOBLIN, and you can get a first deposit bonus of up to $1,000. All you gotta do is sign up using code GOBLIN and go have some fun and get in on the madness. It doesn't matter whether you're filling out brackets, betting the championship winner, or just looking for player and game props. MyBookie has you covered. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Big shout out to them. Now let's dive into the video. So this took place back in my junior year of high school, and on this fateful day, it was a pretty normal day. I had just gotten out of school, and I had a couple buddies who were coming over to my place with me. Bobby, who is someone you guys are probably familiar with if you've watched some of my older videos, and another friend of mine named Alec. Now, these were good friends of mine that I kicked it with all the time back in high school, and, we were only juniors in high school at this point, so we didn't really have the kind of money to go buy concentrates all the time, Now we're adults, everyone takes dabs all the time, but when we were this age, dabs were a real luxury. Like, I'm talking, if anyone had some, it's because, 3 people threw down on it, and we got, 0.3 grams each, I mean, there was no shot that any of us consistently had the money to get concentrate, and also, back then, it was just a lot more expensive. Here in Illinois, weed wasn't legal yet. I don't even know if there was a medical program. I think it might have just started back then, if even. I don't remember what year we got our med program. I think it was 2017. But, so no, actually, yeah, it wouldn't have even... Yeah, we didn't even have medical yet back then, I don't think. But either way, we might have. Who knows? That's beyond the point, right? The point here is, nobody had concentrate, and it was also way more expensive back then. I mean, maybe it's just because we were high schoolers getting taxed, but normally we were paying $40 to $50 a gram for some dog shit, dude. No matter where we went, what plug we went to, we were paying that price for just some garbage, some brown dookie shatter, the absolute bottom of the barrel. But back then, that was the top shelf shit to us. We couldn't believe it, because even that garbage got us way more stoned than the weed we were smoking. Because I'd say a good 80 to 90% of the time, we were smoking some fucking mids, and today was no exception. So I have Bob and Alec over to my house, and my mom wasn't home from work yet, so it was just us 3 chilling out. I would normally have a lot of friends over, no big deal, because my mom worked so often that I just had open crib all the time. I could just invite people over, and as long as they got the fuck out before mom got home, we're straight. So I had Alec and I had Bob over, and we're chilling out in my dining room, and we had a little bit of weed, no crazy amount, but we had I don't know, maybe a quarter between all of us collectively. I had a little bit of weed left at home, maybe 2 grams if I'm being generous. And Bob and Alec, from what I remember, both had about an eighth. I remember them having more weed than me, so we'll guesstimate they had an eighth. I don't really know how much fucking weed they had, so we'll just roll with that. But we had a fairly small amount for 3 heads either way. So we rolled up a blunt and we sparked it up, and this shit was some garbage. We all had the same bud. We had all re-upped just a couple days prior from the same exact person, so we all had some dog shit weed right now. I mean, we were down bad. We sparked this blunt and barely got stoned. So we're sitting there and we're like, yo, what the fuck do? We can't smoke this shit, but also we're broke. We just re-upped, we can't just go re-up again. Our only hope was maybe trying to flip some of this weed. So we start hitting people up on Snapchat, texting people, doing whatever we can, but no one wants to buy our dog shit weed. At this point, we're down to sell it all in one go. We don't even care if we make money. Let us at least break even and escape from this hell that is having this swag, right? We are desperate to sell it, but but no one is taking the bait, dude. I don't blame them either. This shit was garbage. I mean, to describe this weed to you, it was mainly shake. Like, it was a few popcorn nugs and, like, all shake. That was the whole bag we got. I remember it was me and, like, 4 or 5 other people, and we threw down on like a zip and a half or some shit. We just put all our money together. We were like, fuck it, dude. Let's get some decent weed. This shit was not decent. Every single one of us got absolutely fucked. But we were all pissed because when we went to re-up on this weed, we sent in only one guy to go grab the shit, right? Not all of us came in. So dude comes back out with the weed, and we're like, what the fuck is this? Like, like, we don't want this shit. Like, why'd you accept this? And he's like, well, I can't go bring it back, dude. We fucking left the plug's house. So we were all stuck with this absolute fucking garbage. But either way, we finished off that blunt, and we were not stoned at all, and we couldn't find anyone to take this shit off our hands. So we're sitting and we're trying to think of other things that we could do to get us stoned. We throw around the idea of making a small batch of edibles, but we figure that not only do we have way too little of weed, but this weed is so trash that it's just not going to be worth it, you know? By the time we're done making edibles and we eat them, it'll probably be like a solid 4 fucking hours before we get high, you know? I mean, it's going to be what? Like maybe an hour and a half to do the brownies if we did brownies, and then another like 2 hours to eat the edible and then really get stoned from it. I mean, fuck that. We're trying to get high faster. So we're sitting there brainstorming, and Alec asked me, he's like, yo, do you have a hair straightener? I'm like, why the fuck would I own a hair straightener? He's like, I mean, your mom, you know, like, does your mom have a hair straightener? Now, I already knew what he was getting at this point. I was like, oh, you want to do this shit. I've seen people do this before. This is probably the only time I've ever done this in my life, mainly because of how poorly it went in this scenario. But we'll get to that. So he asked if I have a hair straightener, and I go rummage through my mom's bathroom and find her hair straightener. God bless her heart. I'm so sorry, but I had to do what I had to do to get high. I hope she forgives me, right? Well, you know what? We'll get to that later. I was about to say something. We'll get to that later. So either way, I bring the hair straightener out into the dining room, and I'm like, yeah, I do have a hair straightener. He's like, yo, what if we tried pressing some shit? You know, like we could make some dabs and just take some dabs ourselves, you know? Now, we didn't have a rig either. That was a whole nother thing. But what we did have is Alec had a little nectar collector in his bag. Of course, back in high school, no one had money to buy a fucking rig, let alone a torch and then refill it on butane. I mean, fuck, dude. But we had a nectar collector, and that's all we needed. So we plug in this hair straightener, and we're trying to figure out what to press the weed in between. Now, normally when you press weed in this fashion, whether it's on a rosin press or whatever other scuffed method you use, you put a bag around the weed that has tiny holes in it. I bought a rosin press fairly recently, last year, and I have a lot of fun with it, but it came with these bags that have different micron numbers. The micron is how big the holes are in it. So like 90 micron, 60, 30, there's even a 121. I think that's the one that's good for making like pressing keef, I believe, like the really fine stuff. But either way, I'm getting off topic here. The point is, normally you put a bag around it because it prevents the weed from bursting out and getting into your concentrate. We did not have a bag to put it in. So we were just like, yo, let's just fucking slap it on there, you know? Now, we obviously weren't going to put it straight on there. We needed at least a couple papers or something, some parchment papers, to put below and above the weed to run it through this hair straightener. Now, of course, we didn't just happen to have any fucking paper that would work with this, but what we did have was a pack of gum. And what we did is we unwrapped 2 pieces of gum. We took the little thin, like, wax paper that's in there, separated it from the tinfoil part or whatever that material is, and we set the weed in between that part. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this was some genius shit, because the paper actually worked. Like, it actually held up fine. I was pretty surprised. I was like, dude, I don't know if this is the same kind of paper. Like, what if it, you know, what if it's too hot and it burns? Like, what the fuck? What if we blow everything up? You know, like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, dude, all I know is OG's about to be mad as fuck, dude. Her hair straightener is about to smell like gas, bro. She's about to do her hair tomorrow, walk into work, and get fucking fired on the spot, dude. This is not going to be good. But we're desperate to get high, so the show must go on. Now we get the hair straightener going and we start pressing this shit. And I've never done it, so Alec was the one who did it. He was like, yeah, I've done this before, like I can do it. So he turns on the hair straightener, he's got the weed all set up, and he starts pressing it down. I don't know if he pressed it like too hard or what the fuck happened, but it smelled like shit. You could tell that the weed was honestly getting too hot. It was weird because I'd figure like, I don't know if it was maybe just the pads on the straightener or what, but like the weed was just getting way too hot. I've run weed through my press plenty of times and I've never seen it literally start fucking steaming. But this shit started smoking as we were pressing it. But as we were looking on the sides of the little pieces of gum paper that we put down, we noticed that we were getting a very small yield. Like very tiny. And also keep in mind that this was almost entirely popcorn nugs. We couldn't put shake on there, so we took all of our popcorn nugs that we could dig out, put them together. I'd guesstimate we maybe had 3 grams on this thing, like tops, and we pressed the fuck out of that shit, and we got the smallest yield I've ever seen. But there was a big problem. Since we didn't use a bag, there was just a shitload of debris in our concentrate here, right? Now, normally, that would be a big problem, but we were high schoolers, and we did not give a flying fuck. We didn't care, dude. As long as we can dab it, we're getting fucking stoned, boys. That is absolutely all that counts. So, now we open up the hair straightener, and we start getting the weed off of the paper to separate it from our yield, which was a very small amount. I mean, I kid you not, guys. This was like maybe a 0.1, like maybe, dude. This was the smallest yield I've ever seen in my life pressing shit. But you know what? It was enough for each of us to get a very small grain of rice sized dab, and that is all that fucking counts. So we end up separating all the weed. It takes us a little while because we're trying to like carefully pick out pieces of weed without taking some of the concentrate with. We're being very, very careful with this. And eventually we finish doing that, and we realize we do not have a fucking torch. This situation just gets more scuffed by the second. We go into the kitchen and we turn the stovetop on, and that is how we heat up the nectar collector, boys. Alec just stuck it right over the stove, and he was like, fuck it, let's get it. Now, another problem we ran into was that our concentrate was still on the parchment paper. We didn't really even have a dab tool. Like, we didn't have any way to get it off. We didn't have any glass container to put it in, like a little dab container. We had none of that. Yet we somehow had to figure out how to dab with a nectar collector. So we kind of accepted pretty quickly that if we accidentally burn the fucking paper, so be it, but we're dabbing straight off of it. We have no choice. Like, this is it, you know? Could we have maybe swiped it onto a knife and dabbed? Yeah. But it's a lot easier to say that we could have done better in retrospect. In the moment, we were desperate, and we were not trying to do any extra steps. So we heat up this nectar collector, and Alec takes the first dab. He sticks the tip of the nectar collector up to the paper, takes the tiniest little rip ever, passes it my way. I take the tiniest little rip ever, and we have to reheat it fairly quickly because his nectar collector, I don't know what the deal with it was, but maybe he didn't heat it long enough, like every single time, but this guy would bust out his nectar collector all the time, and it just wouldn't maintain its heat for shit. Like, I feel like nectar collectors normally stay warm for a pretty decent amount of time, but this guy had some scuffed-ass nectar collector. I mean, dookie water nectar collector. So we finish off the small amount that we have on this parchment paper. No, parchment paper is a generous term. This fucking gum wrapper. We finish off the small amount we have on there, and we're feeling pretty all right. I mean, I remember feeling pretty good. I wouldn't say I was stoned out of my mind, but I mean, I was content, you know? More stoned than I would have been if we had just smoked the mid. Now, we chilled out for a little while longer, and we still had a little bit of shake left, so we rolled up another blunt just cuz, fuck it, you know? Back in high school, even if you hated the weed, you still smoked it, cuz that's just how the struggle goes. But either way, we finished off the last of our, well, not the last of our weed, but the last that we wanted to smoke. We finished off the last of our sesh, I guess is a better way to put it. You know, I said goodbye to Bob and Alec because my mom was coming home soon, and I went and put away the hair straightener thinking nothing of it, right? Alec, Bob, they dip out. Now, I'm all good until the following morning, right? The following morning, I wake up, I'm getting ready for school and all that, the beautiful day, very excited to learn. What can I say? I've always been a scholar. And I'm in my bathroom getting ready, and my mom comes and bangs on the fucking door. Now, I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, did she find some weed? What happened this time? And she's like, Nick, what the fuck happened to my straightener? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh shit. So how do I even, what do I even say? And I'm playing stupid at first. I'm like, what? What do you mean what happened to your straightener? That's crazy. What do you taught your straightener? I don't even know what a straightener is, yo. That's wild. And she is pissed, dude. She's yelling at me through the door because she asked if she could open it. And I was like, no, I'm going to the bathroom. I actually wasn't. I was standing in there just getting ready, putting on deodorant. But I had to bullshit, so I didn't have to face her fury directly. And she's like, oh, I'm so sick of your fucking shit. This hair straightener was $100 or something. I don't remember what fucking price she said, but she was pissed. She was going off, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I hid in that bathroom for the rest of the morning until she went to work, dude. I was like, nope, I'm not coming out. I'm gonna tell her I have diarrhea. There is no chance I'm coming out of this fucking bathroom. That plan backfired on me. My mom was very, very pissed off, and I got maybe a 0.1 of some dookie wax in exchange. So, not really a fair trade, but that's just the way of life. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like if you did. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, gamers.